All right, guys, we've had some folks that have lined up to speak here on item number 61. I'm going to ask the clerk to call those speakers for us. I'm showing that still to be handled is item 60, item 61, item 62, and item 59. Clerk, if you would go ahead and let's bring up the speakers, and to the speakers who have been patiently waiting, apologize for the delay, but I appreciate you participating in the process. Each speaker gets 1 minute on this issue. How many speakers do we have in the queue?
Mayor, we have about 47 speakers.
Okay, if you just go ahead and call them, please.
First speaker is Chivas Watson.
Can I be heard?
Yes, go ahead.
Can I be heard?
Yes, go ahead.
Hey, I'm Chevis Watson, lead organizer of Working Group 512 and a part of the Homes Not Handcuffs campaign in support of the housing solution in item 60, but seeking an incremental implementation to item 49. I know y'all just decided that, but I was in the morning session and I did not get a chance to speak because of the issues with the system. We need a renewed and inclusive discussion to be had where everybody is clear. Greg, thanks for advocating the amendments best you could. Truth is, and what's not being said is exactly how the HSO and city manager plan to succeed in the first phase of this HEAL initiative. Councilmember Kitchen, Councilmember Poole, I applaud that you've continued to be a part of these efforts. I'm not saying what you're doing is not valuable. I'm saying, if I could be accurate, what you're doing still has hints of white supremacy within it. Integral Care, Caritas, ECHO, what have they proven thus far? To be clear, right now, we need, again, a clear process that cannot be simply appeasing to those like Mackenzie Kelly and the rest of her cohorts who are truly scared of low-income people of color and those pained by addiction. This will turn into criminality. As Greg was saying, it's perpetuated, covertly even, in the street management ideas of item 49. We're merely asking you to postpone it, and if you've already decided, let's keep talking for a few weeks. So I've got 15 homeless folks with me. They do not trust this plan. Thank you for the time.
Thank you.
Justin Green.
Hi, my name is Justin Green, resident of District 9 and a member of Austin DSA, and I'm calling in support of item 61. I want to thank Councilmember Kazar for leading the charge on the hotel purchases from last week and fighting for the postponement of item 49. Pretty frustrated that that item passed. I just think it's kind of a joke it's called the HEAL initiative. Y'all should be comedians for passing something that opens the door to recriminalizing homelessness. Shame on Councilmember Kelly for attempting to criminalize our community's most vulnerable, all for the comfort of those who do not wish to be confronted with the end results of our broken economic system. I urge the rest of City Council to, make a compassionate choice and invest our resources in creating permanent housing. Really the only effective treatment we have for treating homelessness. Thank you.
Preston Manis. Preston Manis. Mayor, we'll try to reach back out to this person.
Thank you.
Nicole Maddox.
Good afternoon, Council. Nicole Maddox. I live in District 6, and I volunteer with the Eat Apart Together initiative to deliver food to the homeless on Sundays, and I'm also a member of Austin DSA. I just want to speak in favor of item 61. I also opposed 49 the way it was written, and I'm disappointed that the amendment didn't pass. I think it was Poole that said something about shared the concerns that Kazar had, but just because text might seem duplicative, it is still if we're seeing loopholes, then loopholes can be exploited. So if we need to fill them, then we should fill them in order to remove those concerns. As for 61, we just need to do our best to house the homeless. This is a great opportunity, and especially as it is permanent supportive housing. It is not a shelter. This will not negatively impact a lot of the neighboring facilities like people think it will. So I'm just really hoping you guys continue your support of 61. Also, Mackenzie Kelly, looking forward to seeing your email updates. I registered for your email list and have not seen anything on that yet. I had to find out about your town hall.
Speaker, your
through other
time has
sources.
expired.
Preston Manis.
Hello, my name is Preston Manis, calling in support of item 61. I'm a member of the Austin chapter of the Democratic Socialists of America. I lived at the Lakeline East apartment complex for 2 years, which is within walking distance of the Candlewood Suites. I think the location is perfect for housing our homeless neighbors. There are multiple bus stops nearby, multiple grocery stores nearby, dozens if not hundreds of employers nearby, a DPS nearby, a clinic nearby, all within walking distance. I'm sympathetic to my neighbors' safety and security concerns, but such concerns are the purview of local police. If local police are failing to address these concerns, then the appropriate first-line response is to adjust the policing strategy rather than to criminalize and segregate our homeless neighbors. To do otherwise is to punish all of the homeless for the crimes of the few, to assume their guilt rather than innocence. The potential inhabitants of this housing share the safety and security concerns of their surrounding neighbors. They are just as likely, if not more likely, to be victims of crime themselves. Homelessness is a citywide issue, and every district, District 6 included, is obligated to do its part to address it. Not in my backyard is not sound policy, and the City Council would do well to reject it. Please vote in favor of item 61. Thank you.
Megan Peglar.
Hi, I'm Reverend Megan Pegler, resident of District 6, calling to support 61. I also live in walking distance of the hotel, and I've heard the concerns of some of our currently housed neighbors, I don't think that fear is a good way to make policy decisions. Permanent supportive housing is proven to be an excellent solution to homelessness, and I urge you all to vote in favor of this to recognize and offer dignity and respect to our neighbors who are currently experiencing homelessness. Thank you.
Sanjay Chaudhary.
My name is Sanjay Chaudhary. I manage the hotel that is in District 6 that is adjacent to Candlewood Suites. I oppose this proposal 61. The zoning for the Candlewood Suites is GR. The location is not intended to be permanent housing. Any other person or business would have to go through an official rezoning process. Will the city reach out to the adjacent businesses, neighbors, and associations and agree to enforceable restrictive covenants? The city should give neighbors a remedy if the facility is operated in a way that violates the promises the council is now making about the use and operation. Why would the city council not agree to that unless they want to change the use of the property in the future? Thank you for your time.
Scott Carson.
Hi, Scott Carson. I live in District 6. I actually live about 100 yards down from the hotel. In quoting National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, sometimes things look good on paper but lose their luster when you see how it affects real folks. A healthy bottom line doesn't mean much if you hurt the ones you depend on. It's people that make the difference. I oppose the purchase of this hotel for a couple of reasons. The increasing crime, lack of nearby amenities, the added negative impact on the surrounding businesses that have been paying taxes for years, and the lack of communication by the city, not only to the community, but to the county and everyone involved. there are other places in our city that would be a better fit. Take a look at a great example, Community First, or even the new Los Angeles charity, Hope of the Valley, who are utilizing many homes at a fraction of the cost. Either one houses people at a fraction of the cost of what you have proposed here. I mean, there's a vacant 48-acre tract of land on Ben White's Boulevard towards the airport that could hold between 400 RVs or 1,600 tiny homes. There are many other strip malls or locations like the 24-Hour Fitness on Palmer Lane that's vacant. This space could hold 150 to 200 tiny homes like what they are doing in LA County. It's closer to public transportation, amenities, and away from residential communities. And it won't affect the businesses around them. Avoid the legal
Speaker, your time has
ramifications and bad
expired.
press via rush this.
Bianca Ramirez.
Hi. As a taxpayer and resident of Williamson County whose property juts up directly against the Candlewood Suites, I am against item number 61. As ethnic minorities who worked our way out of poverty with our sacrifices and debt to provide better for our toddler sons, we fear for our lives considering we've had an influx in homeless backpackers camping behind our fence, looking in at our boys while they play outside, lighting fires at all hours of the night, leaving excrement behind our lot, and in the neighborhood, vandalizations, car break-ins, and trespassing has increased. Most in favor of passing item 61 do not live directly in the area. They are hypothetical neighbors. If they did, they would be against it too. Working with the homeless I have in the past is different than living right next to the homeless. By allowing individuals with severe mental health and substance abuse problems into our neighborhoods, you're jeopardizing our safety. This rushed effort to solve your Travis County homeless crisis has left residents feeling betrayed since there has been no transparency or adequate impact studies done on residents or small business owners. Can you guarantee this PSH facility will never be converted into a temporary homeless housing shelter? Close to 2,800 residents in this area ask that you please purchase a hotel in a non-residential area. Thank you.
Marie Chowdhury.
Marie Chaudhry, owner of Hampton and Homewood, directly adjacent to Candlewood, District 6. I am opposed to item 61, city buying Candlewood. First, I suggest Mayor Adler and City Council contact Alan Graham, Community First, successful homeless community, and give Alan $9.5 million. He can build a lot of mini homes, have RVs, and help a lot more people. We want all homeless off the streets into homes. This is a much better solution for homeless and Pecan Park community. Second, has APD been asked for analysis of whether, from a policing standpoint, they believe this location is a good location for a PSH project? If so, will the city promptly provide a copy of APD's analysis? If not, will the city postpone a decision on purchasing the property until such a security analysis is conducted and provided to the public? Third, why were we not ever notified? Thank you.
Sarah Gore.
Hello, my name is Sarah Gore, and I'm a homeowner in District 7. I'm calling to ask the council to support item 61. To speak to the earlier related discussion about HEAL, I really do appreciate the intent and that it includes investments to housing. However, from my perspective as someone outside the council, it's hard to believe that the promises were made in good faith. The council had the opportunity last week to provide permanent supportive housing through item 61 and postponed it. And again, from my perspective outside, it looks like it was postponed just to provide time to stoke outrage. If we are truly all on the same page about protecting our homeless neighbors, let's please vote yes on item 61, the purchase of Candlewood Suites. Thank you.
Andy Phillips. Andy Phillips.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Go ahead.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Go ahead.
Thank you very much. My name is Andy Phillips, and I'm a resident of District 4 and a proud member of the Democratic Socialists of America. Thank you to Council Member Greg Casar, Vanessa Fuentes, and I'm so sorry. I'm blanking on the third council member's name. I deeply apologize for that, but thank you so much, all of you, for speaking against item 49. I would like to speak in favor of item 61. Like to speak in favor of item 61. I spoke in favor of buying the first hotel and am speaking in favor of buying the second hotel for the same reason. The only way to solve homelessness is through housing, and this needs to happen sooner rather than later. Furthermore, item 489 is really not very good, especially in its current state. People experiencing homelessness are living where they need in order to be relatively safe, and they are doing so because simply living outside for extended periods of time is not safe. And so we are wasting time and resources that we could be spending on finding more permanent housing and
Speaker, your
even
time has
making the
expired.
current camping site safer.
Yelene Wang.
Hello, I'm Yalin Wang, and I'm against item 61. To help a group, you cannot just accommodate by hurting another group. This location is so terrible. It is not zoned for affordable housing, so there's no public transportation, no grocery, no health care. This location cannot help the homeless that much. However, it will impact this local community a lot, especially destroy the adjacent business like Hampton Hotel and Friday Restaurant. If the city did the study well, please be aware these two businesses are women owners and they are minorities. You cannot discriminate them. Whatever reason, imagine, the one outside protest was your daughter, your wife, or your mom. How do you feel? And I think it's a shame for city management, to manage it like this. So, your people go on the street protest. That's wrong. Thank you.
Ty Hovanki.
Hi, I'm Ty Hovanki from District 5, calling in support of item 61. The homeless need housing ASAP. Living on the streets basically creates even further trauma, further danger, and this definitely impacts their ability to rehabilitate and find housing and jobs afterwards. Yes, but I also do hope that the council takes to heart the worries and reservations that other people have spoken up about regarding providing resources for the homeless in that area, making sure that the hotel doesn't get turned into a homeless shelter, and then also making sure that there's adequate security nearby to ensure the safety of the neighborhood and surrounding communities. Thank you.
Alicia Samad.
My name is Elisha Samad, and I oppose item 61. The argument here is location, location, location. This is a Northwest Austin middle-class, working-class, family-class community, 145 single-family homes next to Candlewood Suites. As residents, we received little to no notice about the city's action to move forward with this decision, which leaves us disheartened. I keep hearing how purchasing this location is good for the homeless, but not much concern for the residents of Pecan Park and how it affects us. We have no confidence in the city's involvement in keeping their commitment and funds for services, security, and care for this supportive housing, therefore leaving us, the property taxpayers, with a neighboring Section 8 project to deal with in the future. The city cannot monitor, oversee, and control these tenants to the extent of them not paying their rent, integrating with the community while mentally incapacitated, trashing the neighborhood, and keeping Pecan Park neighbors safe from crime, drugs, and theft, which we're going through right now. Give the homeless their own affordable
Speaker,
housing.
your time has
community.
expired.
Prioritize the homeless by...
Rupal Shahardi.
Hi, my name is Rupal Chaudhary, and I oppose this hotel being purchased for permanent supportive housing. Mayor Adler and council members, no disrespect. Which one of you share a driveway or fence with permanent supportive housing? If you don't, then you should not be doing it to this community either. Which of your current existing PSH are in the close proximity to schools, residents, and businesses? We would like to know. If city has been talking to Caritas Integral Care since a month, why it could not speak with the community and follow the due process? City should also think about the message that it's sending its business owners and residences. Because this is happening to us, it can happen to other neighborhoods. Whose neighborhood is next? Thank you.
Amanda Weems.
Hi, y'all. My name is Amanda Cavazos Weems. I'm a homeowner in District 1, and I'm speaking in favor of item 61. You've already heard from many of your constituents on the moral urgency of purchasing housing for our unhoused neighbors, so I'm going to speak to the political choices y'all are making around this issue. When you take action like passing item 49, it appears like you are bowing to the pressure from the governor's office and newly elected Councilwoman Kelly. Efforts to recriminalize our unhoused neighbors will not save city council members from facing right-wing challengers in their next council race, nor will it bring about a more just city. When I testified at last week's meeting on purchasing supportive housing, I told council members that Councilwoman Kelly was being disingenuous when she suggested that she needed more time to educate her constituents about the planned supportive housing in her district. I hate to be proven right on that point, but here are the facts. Instead of educating her district on the benefits of the council's plan, she took the opportunity y'all gave her to spread more disinformation, agitate far-right reactionaries, hold a rally, and start mobilizing her supporters against this life-saving proposal. The educational town hall she scheduled for Wednesday was clearly at the bottom of her priorities list. This is what y'all enabled for the sake of congeniality. Councilwoman Kelly is not your friend. She's a dangerous representative.
Speaker, your time has expired.
Manifesting on the local level.
Baldev Chaudhry.
I'm Baldev Chaudhry in District 6. I own Hampton directly adjacent to Candlewood. I'm here to oppose the purchase of Candlewood. I feel city is doing purchase in secret manner. When we submit our project to city sends the letters to all neighboring residents and businesses. But there is no transparency on city part. On Pecan Park, there is no, there is a lack of services and amenities. I hope City of Austin honors a request from Williamson County to put purchase on hold for 180 days. Thank you.
Phil Perman. Phil Perman.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Go ahead.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, we
Okay.
can.
I just want to say that compassion is not the issue. However, when I was offered food and clothing to the homeless, they didn't accept it. They only wanted money. Also, item 2, proposed purchase was done under the radar without any soliciting of public input from the neighborhood. The Austin representatives that listened to us finally, they were very patronizing. And 80 rooms will not make a dent in the problem. The homeless are not confined inside the building, so they'll be walking in the streets along with the other homeless. And we'll still see used syringes. Our children as well as adults will still be accosted when walking our sidewalks or at the local businesses. And the tremendous amount of trash will not disappear. It would be naive to think so. $9.5 million in monies would be more effectively spent in purchasing property and placing these people in prefabricated housing that they can call home. Thank you.
Christina Gonzalez.
Good afternoon. I live in District 6 and would like to thank Mackenzie Kelly for accurately representing her constituents and voice my opposition to item 61. I'm a woman of color who worked hard to purchase my first home in December. During my search, I looked for a neighborhood where I would feel safe walking my dogs and eventually raising a family. I chose Anderson Mill. I lived in the Arboretum area from 2014 until December of 2020. I used to feel safe walking along Great Hills Trail and underneath the overpass, but this area has significantly changed since that time. My last apartment, which touts itself as having premier units, has seen a huge uptick in burglary and vandalization. After North by Northwest closed due to the pandemic, several homeless people moved into the parking lot directly across from my unit, and I witnessed these individuals shooting up drugs firsthand. The National Coalition for the Homeless estimates that 64% of homeless individuals are addicted to drugs or alcohol. Diana Gray has stated that the city will not require those chosen for this facility to be drug tested or participate in drug rehabilitation. This is a recipe for disaster and will greatly affect the safety and property values of all the businesses and residences in the area. Thank you.
Ana Perez.
Hi, my name is Ana Perez, and I am a member of Austin DSA and a resident of District 1. I'm calling in support of item 61, the purchase of Candlewood Suites as permanent supportive housing for our unhoused neighbors. Our city committed to human solutions to the problems of poverty and inequality when we decriminalized homelessness and defunded the police by $150 million last summer. Those actions are only the first step in working toward building a community in which public safety is not a luxury for those who already have housing and gainful employment, but a human right we extend to everyone. We all want to see people off the street, but designating some areas as unsafe raises questions about enforcement mechanisms to make sure people are not camping there, regardless of the intentions of the HEAL resolution to connect people to housing. We're in the midst of a global pandemic that has already killed more than 400,000 people in the U.S. Our housing market is already unaffordable for working class Austinites, on top of millions losing their jobs being threatened by housing insecurity. Housing people and providing them services in the same area is critical to public health, especially when the average age of individuals entering supportive housing is 54, and 90% of these people have 2 or more chronic health conditions. I'm asking you to vote yes on item 61 and continue the work of making this a city for all people, not just those who can afford it.
Hamilton Madden.
Good afternoon. My name is Hamilton Madden, and I'm calling in opposition. So far, over the past 3 years, the city has spent $160 million to care for the homeless. And to put that into perspective, Community First could have built 4,000 tiny homes with those dollars. Now the city wants to spend $40 million for 310 rooms, or $130,000 per room, to house 12% of the population, when Community First could have built 1,000 homes and housed 40% of the population. And if you extrapolate this cost per room, the city's going to spend $320 million to house the homeless. This is just way overspending. If you look at the value that's the cost that the city's paying, $40 million for $13 million of appraised value, when the city pays 3 times the value for the properties, what does that do? That makes the housing crisis that much worse by increasing the cost of living, increasing property taxes, increasing the values of properties. This is just bad dollars spent for an unproven program that will not be a quick fix, since first move-ins won't even happen until fourth quarter of this year. The first hotel was bought in November of 2019 for $8 million.
Patti Anamali, apologies.
Hi, my name is Pari Anamali, District 6. I'm disheartened by the homeless situation in our wonderful city. I support housing for the homeless. I wanted the council to vote against item 49 as well as against 61. This may sound contradictory, but I do not believe this is contradictory. Why do I say it's not contradictory? Simple. Candlewood Suites Hotel will only house about 80 homeless, which is about 3% of the homeless population. We will need to buy 30 such hotels, and I believe that's about 5% of the total hotel rooms in Austin. This would require many hundreds of millions of dollars to address the homeless situation. I know the City Council has been trying to work this issue for some time, but I suggest we take a more comprehensive view so we can scale to address 100% of the housing needs for our unhoused neighbors. There are many other successful programs in the city and around the country that have scaled to address these types of issues. Secondly, the decision to move forward with buying the Candlewood Suites has been rushed, and there have been many unanswered questions. I believe we need to answer these questions prior to moving forward. I implore the council members to postpone item 61 to develop a strategy which is transparently shared.
Michael Dance.
Yes, I'm Michael Dance. I'm a homeowner up in District 6 within walking distance of the Candlewood Suite. I have a junior at Westwood High School. I've got a son at Grisham. Everybody speaks to fear on this. What if, like, the worst stuff happens? This is an opportunity to help people out. And by the way, anytime you have to use these people in a reference, you're probably going wrong. Everybody needs to do their part. I'm happy to lend my neighborhood, Anderson Mill, to help with homelessness, because if we don't do everything we can, it's not going away. Thank you.
Emily Edgerly.
Hi, my name is Emily Edgerly. I am a resident of District 3, and I have over a decade of experience in homeless services, and I'm a huge advocate of housing first and permanent supportive housing and in support of 61. Not all individuals experiencing homelessness commit crimes, but the state of being unhoused causes the very act of living to be criminalized. I want to really address this, as a lot of opponents have brought it up. Evidence shows that criminal activity decreases once an individual becomes housed. We also know that the state of being unhoused creates criminal activity, increases substance use, and exacerbates PTSD and mental health conditions whose symptoms manifest into the very behaviors that are alarming these community members. Furthermore, from my experience, an unhoused person's criminal record, often due to these crimes of survival, are a huge barrier to finding adequate housing. As a community, we must account for the racial disparities in homelessness in our city. And look at Travis County. Black people may account for 8% of our population, but 35% of our homeless population.
Nestor Rubiano.
Hi. Although we support the efforts to address the homeless crisis in the city, we really strongly believe the proposal to purchase the Candlewood Suites Hotel for a housing first facility is an expensive and ineffective solution and will tremendously affect the surrounding community as well as the nearby businesses and our school children. I respectfully ask the council and the mayor to delay the hotel purchase decision for 180 days to be able to study the impact on the neighborhood, businesses, schools, and also to know what the plans are to prevent COVID-19 spread. This was also requested by the Williamson County Commissioner's Court as well. In addition to that, over 2,000 or 3,000 persons have signed a change.org petition to stop the purchase of this hotel, which is a very representative. It's not just the people living next to the hotel, but the whole community asking for this. So I ask again for the delay of 180 days. Thank you.
Bennett Burke.
Hi there, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Hi, my name is Bennett Burke. I'm a student at UT and a proud member of the Austin DSA. I'm calling to speak in support of item 61. And many people before me have stated the reasons why it's necessary. So I just want to take a moment to address something that, UT students are often invoked in the discussion about homelessness, usually to dehumanize homeless people. And I want to, challenge this. Homeless people are people, and some of the people who have spoken in opposition to item 61 have just employed absolutely disgusting language to describe our neighbors. I mean, these people are human beings who just have the misfortune of living in a capitalist system that denies them housing. And, if we look back through recent history, housing homeless people fixes the issue. The issue is that they don't have houses, so give them somewhere to live, and the problems start to go away. So you should purchase this hotel. You should purchase a hotel in my district. You should purchase hotels in every single district in Austin until there are no more homeless people because they've all been housed. These resources exist, and we just need the political will and to change our attitudes about how we view our neighbors and how we dehumanize
Speaker, your
them.
time has expired.
So please support item 61.
Prashanoy.
Good afternoon. My name is Prash Shenoy, and I'm a resident of District 6.
I oppose item number 61. While I deeply care for the issue of homelessness in my beloved city, it is extremely worrisome to find out that the city is taking shortcuts and recklessly spending our money without giving enough notice to the stakeholders. It's only recently that Round Rock ISD, the business owners and the residents of District 6, found out that the homeless are being sheltered so close to Westwood High School and Grisham Middle School without giving us an opportunity to weigh in on the decision that heavily affects all those entities. There seems to be no good option for public transportation in the area, nor are there enough job opportunities and healthcare options in the vicinity of the proposed facility to shelter the homeless. It is not clear if the city has looked into the root cause of the homeless crisis and how to better rehabilitate the homeless, including but not limited to assistance with mental health and addiction. Our city leaders need to work hard to find a well-thought-of solution instead of offering an easy and exorbitantly priced option with taxpayers' money. Thank you.
Frida Chang.
Hello, my name is Frida Chen. I'm business owner in District 6. I'm opposed to the purchase of Candlewood Hotel for homeless housing. I'm a resident and business owner in this area for over 30 years. I have loved and given a lot to this community my entire life and career. I oppose because city has completely disregard for our businesses and safety of our children and residents. City also has complete disregard for the homeless population that they are trying to help because there's no public transportation, grocery store. You are hurting, not helping anyone. You all are elected officials. It is your duty to listen to your community, businesses, and residents. It is your duty to be transparent. The wrong area to buy the Candlewood Hotel. And if you use all your funding, where are you going to get money? If you're going to buy all those hotels, what are you going to do after that? Thank you. I vote no. Thank you.
Michael Garamko.
Yes, my name is Michael Gremka. I'm a homeowner in District 8, Paige Ellis's district, and I just want to voice support for item 61. We obviously have to purchase housing. I want to point out that same people who oppose reducing the police budget also oppose spending money on housing and also oppose doing anything to restrict the camping or to pull back the camping ban. These people haven't offered any solutions to anything. They just keep opposing to everything. I think that, that my council member, even though I haven't gotten an answer back from various letters that we've written from our neighborhood organizing group in Circle C that was organized around the Black Lives Matter movement, and we are fully in support of these purchases of housing and staying firm to my council members' previous positions in support of decriminalizing homelessness and making sure that we actually are moving towards permanent supportive housing. I urge her to stay on that track and not to offer up an assumption of good faith to
Speaker, your time has expired.
Mackenzie.
Nancy Walsh.
Yes, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Oh, okay. This is Nancy Walsh, and I am in District 6, and I'm opposed to 61. I think that we have to remember that in 2019, the City Council had a vote that basically legalized the street camping of anybody, I guess, but it happened to be that the homeless were the ones who came in. I think that what has happened is that there's an unintended consequence from the actions that we have done in the years before, and one of those is homeless camping on the street or anybody camping on the street. And I think that that's what we've seen now. We've seen an increase in the numbers of homeless to the point now that we feel like we have to hide them. City of Austin is the jewel in the crown of Texas. It is huge in tourist and information. It's our state capital. People come here on and off. And I realize that the people in the city council do not want people to see homeless people because as much as they would like to help them, they are hurting them. And when they voted in 2019 to allow them to be on the streets, they harmed them. Now that they want to put them into the Candlewood Suites in a residential neighborhood, not only are they harming them, but they're harming the residents who are there. We pay taxes, we take care, we are generous, we are kind, we are not altruistic.
Speaker, your time has expired.
We are not selfish or heartless.
Chelsea Lewis.
Hi, I'm Chelsea Lewis from District 9. I'm testifying in favor of item 61. I called in last week in favor of purchasing both hotels for items 31 and 32, and today I'm imploring you once again to move quickly in the purchase of the second hotel. Councilwoman Kelly's postponement of the item last week was followed by a wave of news articles featuring pictures of white property owners who believe that the taxes they pay entitle them to keep others in poverty for their own aesthetic comfort. I'm deeply disgusted by the arguments from callers opposing this item. The first one, location, or to quote a previous caller, location, location, location. If your neighborhood is so nice, then why isn't it suitable for permanent housing? People keep talking about fear of crime and violence, but have yet to hear the basis for this argument. If you're afraid of homeless people, guess what? House them and they won't be homeless. Please vote for item 61.
Jose Papa.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Yes. Hi, my name is Jose Papa from District 7, and I would like to speak on item number 61 because of the lack of community engagement and education. We recently submitted a petition for Texas Bungalow, which details similar concerns as Candlewood Hotel. I would like to preface that I absolutely am for finding solutions to the growing homelessness problem in the city. I volunteered at Community First Village, at C.D. Doyle, which is a free community clinic that serves a lot of the homelessness community downtown. However, again, I'm raising concerns about the lack of transparency and engagement with the community before as well as after the vote to purchase the Texas Bungalows. Councilmember Poole, you mentioned it in the last City Council meeting on the 27th that you performed extensive community education and outreach. I'm disappointed because the only voices I've heard so far about the topic are from the Next Door Forum. I've also confirmed that the HOA board was not contacted before and still has yet to hear about the purchase. I'm asking for more transparency about a decision that directly affects an established family neighborhood. Texas
Speaker, your time has expired.
Keith Young.
Good afternoon. My name is Keith Young. I'm a resident of District 4 and a member of Austin DSA calling to speak in favor of item 61. Additionally, over the past 5 months, a number of colleagues, friends, and I have had the eye-opening experience of volunteering through the City of Austin's Eating Apart Together initiative. Initiatives such as the repeal of the Austin camping ban, homeless outreach efforts by Travis County EMS, as well as Eating Apart Together are crucial measures, but we must recognize these efforts as remedial and nothing more. The purchase outlined in item 61 picks up where the aforementioned remedies leave off, getting our neighbors off of the street and into stable housing where they can get back on their own feet. In discussing another item earlier today, I heard some of you during the previous discussion reaffirm your commitment to addressing the homelessness crisis in Austin. If we are serious when we say our neighbors should not have to live on the street in degrading and even dangerous conditions, then permanent supportive housing is the only path forward. The city must proceed today with the outlined purchase and make a commitment to keeping people housed going forward. And there is only one way out of this crisis in Austin, and that is housing. Mr. Mayor, City Council, thank you for your time.
Joni Huang.
Hi, I'm Joni Huang. I represent the Westwood High School parents who are concerned for their children's safety. We oppose Agenda 61. Again, I want to emphasize that if you do not live near in the neighborhood, I really don't think you have the right to speak up for people who live there and spend our life there and worried about children's safety. Number two, if it's not your own money, maybe you don't care, you're not as careful. Lavishing $12 million taxpayer dollars on only 80 out of a total of 3,000 homeless population in Austin just doesn't make any number sense. I suggest that we work together with the state, which owns a 5-acre land near South 183, away from high-density residential area, businesses, and schools, and build a large complex with a few hundred homeless units to accommodate more homeless people in need. Finally, Candlewood Hotel is currently being used as a COVID hotel, which makes it unsafe to accommodate homeless people in the future. I want to thank you, Councilwoman Kelly. We voted
Speaker, your time has expired.
Sharon Blythe.
Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
This is Sharon.
Go ahead.
Sharon Blythe, living in District 6. Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Sharon Blythe, living in District 6. I'm opposed to item 61, but I have few questions. Do people moving into the hotels already have 2 COVID shots? Is this a requirement? What physical barriers are contemplated between fetus free food and the neighborhoods? Has this been thought about? If the residents break their lease, what is the city's recourse besides giving them more services? Have you thought about cheaper alternative solutions such as buying and placing RVs for people to live in? My RV is livable and is my escape out of Austin when our neighborhoods are trashed. Are the homeless too good to live in RVs? What are you doing? Please do not vote for item 61 or delay the vote. Thank you very much.
Stephanie Goodman.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Hello?
Yes, go ahead.
Hi, my name is Stephanie Goodman. I live in District 6. I'm speaking to oppose the Candlewood Hotel purchase on Pecan Park. I actually also live on Pecan Park, and it's less than 1,000 feet from the doors of Candlewood. Lakeline East is actually a much further walk, and HEB is over 1 mile from the Candlewood doors, just to clarify that. This location in particular, and the stats that were presented by Integral Care, this location is not like Terrace Springs. It doesn't have the same amenities, and the density of residential homes and schools absolutely eclipses what South Austin was. We have more schools, more hotels, restaurants, and hundreds of neighbors on each side. Specifically, though, Integral Care said they've served 5,400 individuals. They say out of that system, 65% have one or more mental health and substance abuse disorders. 45% have a comorbid chronic health condition, but only 38% needed a permanent housing solution. Integral can only allocate 50 to 75 units to PSH. If we go by their stats, that only serves 2 to 4% of that 38%. The city says there's 2,506 homeless. If we go by your numbers, those rooms will only serve 5 to 8% of that 38%. What happens to the other 62 that we're still struggling with?
Speaker, your time has expired.
Michael Torres.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
I'm speaking in support of agenda items number 61 and my opposition on 49. Our communities are safer when individuals and families have the resources to succeed and have what they need to move forward, especially in Austin, where it's being gentrified. Over-policing does not do any benefit for our unhoused neighbors. Criminalization further detriments them in a never-ending cycle of debt and dismay. Anyone can be one step away from experiencing homelessness. By implementing the Housing First model, it gives a sense of security, meeting a basic need. In item 49, it states that the HEAL initiative will connect our unhoused neighbors with housing resources, but does the exact opposite, because once they return to get their belongings from their tents, at the campsites, their stuff will be gone. That's their home being torn by this initiative. The second problematic issue with this is that it separates our unhoused folks from their friends who they lean on for support and call their family of choice. This further displaces unhoused folks, and the housing crisis is still present, providing no solution. Thank you.
Robert Barnes.
Yes, this is Bob Barnes. Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Oh, can you hear me? Thank you. I'm president of IBC Bank, and I'm here to speak against this ordinance or this item 61. The two adjacent hotels, the Hampton Inn and the Homewood Suites, are owned by customers of the bank, the Charkari family, and several members have already spoken today, and IBC is the lender on the two hotels. My main concern here is for the family. If you've ever inspected the site, you'll see that all three hotels, the Hampton Inn, the Homewood Suites, and the Candlewood Suites, share a common entrance. The Hampton Inn is immediately adjacent and 20 feet away from Candlewood Suites. If council approves, then my fear is that it could be a death sentence for these hotels. In the middle of a pandemic, when most hotels are on forbearance and barely making it, I ask that council reconsider and give more time for community input. And the very big tragic situation here is that council and the city has not been transparent and has not engaged the community. This was a surprise for everyone, and I think it's a real disappointment. I support housing for the homeless, but not a shotgun approach where you can buy hotels without any concern for the local community. Thank you.
Mayor, may I ask the previous speaker a question?
Councilmember Tovo, we've already disconnected the speaker, but we can call him back.
No, that's okay. Thank you.
Miles Brandon.
Good afternoon. I'm the Reverend Miles Brandon, pastor of St. Julian of Norwich Episcopal Church and a clergy leader in Central Texas Interfaith. Our parish boundaries include parts of District 6, and many of our congregants and those of other CTI congregations live throughout the district. On behalf of Central Texas Interfaith, I'm speaking for Agenda Item 61 and in support of purchasing the hotel on Pecan Park as transitional housing for our unhoused friends and neighbors. Regardless of where you stand on ordinances impacting our homeless population, Central Texas Interfaith believes that real lasting solutions that embrace our unhoused neighbors in ways that provide dignity, respect, and grace, and that actually have the possibility of impacting real progress and transformation in the lives of our unhoused neighbors and the community of the whole, are of the utmost importance. Thus, we support significant resources being deployed in strategic ways by our local government, including the purchase and availability of safe and dignified transitional and permanent housing for those experiencing homelessness. We see this particular purchase as a helpful step in this direction. Further, we desire the opportunity to work with council in envisioning a bold and robust, actionable plan for addressing homelessness in our community that builds up those suffering with housing insecurity and those who are housed. We believe our flourishing is all tied up together.
Seneca Savoy. Seneca Savoy. We will call that speaker back. Jen Margulies.
Thank you. I'm Jen Margulies, a D1 resident, asking for your support of item 61 to purchase a second hotel for crucially needed permanent supportive housing in Austin. This is the kind of investment in housing and services we need, providing dignified solutions for our community's most vulnerable members. Permanent supportive housing in the community gets people off the streets, connects folks with services, and will make the community safer. There is no away where unhoused people can be put. As we've seen every day in this city since people have moved out of the shadows into camping in public, our currently unhoused neighbors and those of us who are housed live in the same city and in the same neighborhoods, and segregation isn't the answer. Vote yes on item 61. I also want to voice my support for item 62, making Project Connect anti-displacement funds available to local community development corporations to provide more affordable housing in vulnerable gentrifying neighborhoods like my D1 neighbors in Blackland. And finally, I'm disappointed in your majority vote today on item 49. The council will have to watch closely to ensure that this measure isn't implemented in ways that lead to over-policing and human rights violations. You can be sure the community, calling for real public safety and equal justice, will be watching. Thank you.
Seneca Savoy.
Hi, this is Seneca. Can you hear me now?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, I'm calling in to voice support for item 61. A common question that comes up is how people are prioritized for this housing. And the answer is the people who go into permanent supportive housing are the people who are most likely to die if they don't receive it. As somebody noted earlier, the average age of somebody who's entering this housing is 54 years old, and the average person entering it is 90% chance of having 2 or more chronic health disorders. If you believe that disabled 54-year-olds are going to wreak a crime wave across your neighborhood, I think that the problem might be with you and not with them. This is essentially a retirement community. The largest studies of permanent supportive housing have found 0% increase in crime within 2,000 feet of the facility. Meanwhile, seeing increases, not decreases, increases in property value at every single site measured in New York City and Denver. So the business owners calling in have the chance of maybe having their property value go up slightly, no risk of crime because people age out of violent crime. 54-year-olds don't go on murder sprees, especially when they're disabled. Meanwhile, 254
Speaker, your
people
time
have
has
died
expired.
experiencing homelessness last year.
Tom Henry.
Yes, thank you. Good afternoon, Mayor Adler and council members. I'm calling with respect to item 61. I urge you to consider offering additional time for the constituents of District 6, Councilmember Kelly, and the taxpayers of Austin to further understand the specifics of the safety implications for residents and business owners who will be impacted by this purchase. It is also important to note that the purchase of this property has been done so under a perceived veil of secrecy at a time when trust in our civic representation is spread thin. With the respect to the overall plan of our homeless brothers and sisters, we seem to be getting the cart before the horse when on this same day, the HEAL initiative is also on the agenda for consideration. It appears that a clear plan of adequately lifting our unhoused neighbors to a path of better life does not exist at this time. It is with my sincerest empathy, and both for our housed and unhoused neighbors, that the path is transparent and well-defined before investing millions of dollars in properties without a clear purpose. Thank you for your time.
Zach Machalka.
Hey there. My name is Zach Mahalka, and I'm a member of Austin DSA. I live in District 5, and I'm in support of item 61 here. While it's important to have community buy-in, the unfounded anxieties of a few small business owners and suburban NIMBYs, amplified and egged on by the Travis County and Williamson County GOP, do not outweigh the critical need to address helping members of our community and move forward on a well-studied solution to provide stable housing for those that do not have it. Councilmember Kelly's goal was clearly to work with these organizations and actively campaigning against any solution at all in her district and not to get feedback on the community, as she said. Pass 61 without further delay. It's going to help people that desperately need it, and hopefully we all now see clearly that these are just bad faith grifter games from Councilmember Kelly. Thank you for your time. Bye.
Jordan Middlebrooks.
Hello, are you all able to hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead.
All right, perfect. My name is Jordan Middlebrooks. I live in District 1. I do want to thank those today on City Council who voted last week for the purchase of the first hotel, and I'm here to support item 61. I am disappointed in the vote for item 49, and I do not support attempts or language loopholes to criminalize homelessness, nor will I support a candidate in the future electoral proceedings that work to use constituents' tax dollars to criminalize homelessness. I think we all know that the way to address homelessness is to provide permanent housing and services in the proximity of said housing. Providing this housing actually negates the words we use to describe unhoused and homeless people. Through scientific research and case studies, it's proven that permanent housing reduces chronic homelessness. It's known to reduce taxpayer costs associated to health care because there's less emergency room visits that cannot be paid, which then go to the taxpayer, and reduce taxpayer costs associated to police activity.
Land on which we stood, Mississippi.
How many do we have left in the queue?
We have 5 left, Mayor.
Thank you. We have left 60, 61, 62, 59 in executive session.
Mayor, I just heard from 2 constituents that we're back on, but we'll wait for confirmation.
Okay, great, thank you. I'm also hearing we're back on.
The ATXN feed should be good.
Okay. Clerk, let's go to the next speaker.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, go ahead, Ms.
Hello,
Holland.
my name is Brooke Holland. Hello, my name is Brooke Holland. I'm a resident of Circle C and a constituent of District 8. I testify today in support of item 61, the purchase of a hotel for homeless housing. I spoke last week sharing my story of advocacy and direct aid to our homeless. I am disappointed by the vote delay on the hotel in District 6. I urge you to move forward today without further delay on the purchase of this hotel. Our homeless community deserves better than games being played by our council members while their lives are very literally on the line. Thank you.
Nathan Graves.
Hi, I'm Nathan Graves. I'm a member of Austin DSA and a former resident of District 6 before I was priced out of the area with high rent. We've heard a lot of arguments. I would just like to ask a question to Congressmember Kelly, Councilmember Kelly, who, according to your biography that is posted, you claim to be a Christian. So you have a sacred charge as a council member to speak for the voiceless, to speak for the destitute and the poor. Instead, you took your week to speak for business interests, to speak for bankers, to speak for people who have never had insecure housing in their lives and do not expect such in the future. I would ask, how on earth can you in good conscience have done this? I ask how you could deny housing to people who may die without it, how you could stir up such fears and resentments against these people who don't even have a home. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Reiko Meng.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I'm from District 6 and Post 61. As a resident living nearby, I'm familiar with the area very well, much better than the people who live outside of this district. Candlewood Hotel is not a good location for assisting housing. There is lack of access to public transportation, jobs, and medical support. Putting people who already have unfortunate lives into this location is like putting them into a prison. Secondly, the budget of a project leads many question marks and no transparency. The financial number given in yesterday's town hall is full of conflicts and beyond of common sense. The monthly operation cost only for a single unit can rent a much better apartment in the market. It's obvious that this project is not spending taxpayers millions of dollars wisely. With unreasonable financial budget, it's hard to believe this project will help the people in need. Please reevaluate. Thank you.
Anar Patel.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Hi, my name is Anar Patel, and I'm a homeowner in District 6, and I'm opposed to item 61. You know, I empathize with homeless people. You know, there's people like us, but I'm not saying that don't help homeless, but find permanent housing. But this location, which is right in the middle of a neighborhood in a residential area, it just doesn't make sense to me. putting them in an area where there is no transportation, no access to good health care, no access to job, no access to grocery store that's really close by. I'm not sure how it really helps them. And the public safety that it raises, concerns that it raises cannot be ignored. There are houses right next to the hotel. Westwood High School and Noel Grisham Middle School are right next door. Spicewood Elementary School is within a few miles. Kids walking to school, kids playing in neighborhood next to the hotel, neighbors walking in sidewalks. How is their safety ensured? Why didn't city notify us community members and include it in this discussion? City has not been transparent at all to community about this purchase, and it seems like it's just being rushed. For these reasons, I request the council to listen to the community members like us and delay this purchase. Thank you for your time.
Charles Cross.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, yeah, my name's Charles Cross. I'm from District 6, and I am opposed placing or buying the Candlewood Suites Hotel here. The reason isn't because I don't want to house the homeless, which apparently is what everybody outside of District 6 thinks. They think that we're not for helping the homeless, and that's could be farthest from the truth. We want this program to succeed. If you buy these hotels in the wrong neighborhood, you're just going to give the program a black eye. Now, I went on Google search and I checked to see what the other homeless hotels, including the one on Ben White that was canceled, and all of those were in much different neighborhoods than ours. We have the strong feeling that a community impact study hasn't been done, and that you just are kind of haphazardly buying whatever hotel, and in most cases, it seems to be okay, but in this neighborhood, you're just way too close to fine dining establishments, business class hotels, just feet away
Speaker, your time
from
has
where
expired.
our kids get picked up. And
Thank you.
Brian Tom.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, council members. Brian Tompto. I live near District 6, not technically inside of it. But what I wanted to talk to you about here, and I appreciate your time, is that, I have the utmost empathy for a lot of these different folks hearing on these calls. Number one, I think everyone I know, and myself especially, I have tremendous empathy for our homeless population. It is so essential that we do provide both transitional as well as these more permanent housing opportunities for the homeless population in Austin. And that, of course, has to be part of a comprehensive plan that really addresses how are we going to lift these folks out of the circumstance they're in and do it in a reasonable amount of time, setting goals, achieving those goals, and having a master plan where every step along the way tracks to it. Obviously, we're not there yet. I think we all appreciate that. I think part of the issue you're having in the interim is I also have empathy for the residents nearby. I think what you're hearing is simply the lack of heads up, the lack of transparency that happens here. That's not going to suit, this plan going forward. I think even the report last year that was issued by your folks you hired said that there was a poor job being done of basically communicating the strategy. I think you've got to step back and do a better job, frankly, of communicating your homeless strategy, getting the community engaged.
Speaker, your time has
and getting the
expired.
buy-in so that every step.
Thank you.
Henry Morgan.
Hi, my name is Hank. I'm a former District 9 resident, and I'm currently earning my master's degree. I'm also a formerly unhoused person. I moved to New York City at one point in my life to become a teacher, and I started working 2 part-time jobs as a paraprofessional. I signed what I thought was a lease, and turned out that was incorrect, and that's how I found myself struggling to find housing for about 6 months. I just want everyone to know that we're people too, and I understand wanting the urge to go out and think a soup line is going to help, but soup doesn't build houses. We need shelter and protection from the elements. Currently, I am housed and I've moved on with my life, but this trauma of living on the streets lives with you for a long time, and the things you have to do to survive are really difficult. But I want you all to know that we're your neighbors and we're members of your community, and we do vote. So I hope you all keep that in mind, and please support this project. Thank you.
Mayor and council, that concludes all of the speakers.
Okay, thank you. Let's go ahead and handle this item. Is there a motion to approve item 61? Councilmember Kelly moves adoption of item 61.
Oh, no, sorry. I wanted to make a motion to postpone item 61.
Okay, I'm gonna let the motion come and then let you make a motion to postpone.
Okay, thanks.
Motion to approve item number 61. The Mayor Pro Tem makes the motion, seconded by Councilmember Renteria. We're going to discuss the motion. We'll give you a chance to make the motion to postpone it. Mayor Pro Tem, you made that motion. You can speak first if you'd like.
Thank you, Mayor. I appreciate it. So I think we're all well aware that this has been a difficult subject and a relatively easy yes for me on this item. I think just like the purchase item in District 7 last week, this item makes sense. So I think the question that I keep hearing repeatedly, oftentimes it comes across as a statement, but how do we solve homelessness? We have to make sure that everybody has access to a home is the answer. So a big part of getting there and making sure that our housing supply can actually handle our incredible housing demand. I think it can't just be equal. I keep hearing that, I heard multiple callers refer to the area not being an appropriate place. But to date, many other parts of town have been the appropriate place. And I don't see any reason why this area can't also be an appropriate place to house people who need it. And that's where we go from talking about it being equal to it being equitable. Equity is all about ensuring that each person has the right tools they need to succeed. Some people living in our margins have specific needs. They really aren't addressed by a regular lease or fee simple ownership. The kind of permanent supportive housing that we're creating here with this system or with this item, it meets those needs in a way that is safe, that is compassionate, and that is effective. Each of the residents who move into their homes here will receive supportive services that are tailored for their needs. And, nearly all of the individuals who will reside here will be individuals living with disabilities. And so my expectation in supporting this short postponement on this item last week was that it would be used with as much good faith as we offered it. Finding solutions for homelessness is much easier said than done, and I don't think anybody here would argue that. Stoking fears and misinformation has no place in this conversation, though. No matter which, I hate to even say it, no matter which side you stand on, there shouldn't be sides to conversations about humanity. But, it sure is shaken out that way. As I've said before, District 1 is home to a myriad of housing facilities for our neighbors who would otherwise be on the street. Each one is a badge of honor as far as I'm concerned. It's been one of my great pleasures as a council member to visit a bunch of them and to meet people who work at them, to meet people who thrive because of them. Austin is a big city now. We've got big problems that require big solutions that are well thought out and intentional. We can't just stick, with the old playbook. And I think in a lot of ways, that's what we find ourselves doing here. The unwanted services, unwanted people out of certain parts of town attitude is not the Austin way. It's not the values we hold dear. And it's certainly not the path forward. I think we have to unite as the one Austin we claim to be and tackle trouble in every single corner of our city. And this item, in my opinion, is a big step in that direction. I'd just like to add a few other things, both for my colleagues and for folks who are listening, folks who called in. Again, I really appreciate all the participation from our constituents. It's very helpful. This hotel will be converted into permanent housing for individuals who were formerly unhoused. I heard people say shelter, and I heard people talk about what some of their fears are. But I'd like to just talk about what's reality. And, the reality is when this property is converted, it will provide rental units and provide supportive services that are designed specifically for the individual who resides in that rental unit. It is not a shelter, which is a short-term solution to folks without housing. Instead, this development will provide a long-term permanent solution. The Fair Housing Act protects the future of residents. Nearly all of the individuals who reside in the rental units here are individuals with disabilities. Federal law protects individuals with disabilities from discrimination, which includes applying different terms or conditions to their housing simply because an individual is disabled. This proposed development will be a residential multifamily development, so it must be treated like any other residential multifamily development. The law does not allow housing providers, including the city, to treat residents different simply because they experienced homelessness. Ultimately, the city will operate the property like any other multifamily residential property without regard to the fact that the individuals who will live there experienced homelessness in the past. And I'd like to put some emphasis on the past. People keep saying the homeless, the homeless. When we make this move, when we do what needs to be done, what we waited just 1 week to offer the opportunity for more folks to be able to be educated about the terminology, public or permanent supportive housing. We recognize some of this terminology is new. The hope was that we would all move forward, recognizing that this is the path forward, because those folks that we keep describing as homeless, they won't be anymore. Once we approve this item and we're able to open it up, then we can tell them welcome home, and that title of homelessness will no longer be accurate.
Thank you. Councilor Kelly, you want to make a motion to postpone?
Yes, please. I would like to make a motion to postpone to August 31st out of respect from the request that arose out of the Williamson County Commissioner's Court this week.
Is there a second to this motion?
That's okay. Can I give my remarks?
There is no second to the motion to postpone, so we're not going to consider postponing. We're back to the debate on the motion to approve or not approve item number 61, and you can address that.
Okay. So just to clarify, sorry, I can speak now?
Yes, you can speak now. What's before us, the motion to postpone failed for lack of a second. So now you can speak on the merits of item number 61.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to thank my fellow council members who joined me in my request last week to postpone the passage of this item for 7 days. Initiatives by the city involving big issues require hearings, town halls, multilingual and varied platform outreach, including to schools, county governments, and stakeholders in a communication process that usually spans weeks. This item didn't get that, but that's okay. The homeless issue is huge here in Austin, very clearly. Just this morning, sadly, a fatal accident on 35 caused a diesel fuel spill that drenched a camp in an overpass. This is no place for people to live. We do need permanent supportive housing in the community, but I cannot support this permanent supportive housing because of the outcries from the community about it being not in the right location. My office, with the support of city staff, quickly arranged one Zoom town hall held just last night. Clearly inadequate given the stakes here. This process, this purchase, and the hotel strategy is one that deserves a lot more thought and transparency. And as a community and a city, we need to acknowledge that we helped create an environment where there's strife between the housed and unhoused communities, in part by pushing through untested and partial solutions to homelessness issues. The good news is that we can take on the responsibility to improve that relationship by building trust. I want to note that in the backup information, the Anderson Mill Limited District, as well as the Williamson County elected officials and State Senator Charles Schwertner's office, with additional backup information from local business owner and former Mayor of Round Rock, Niall Maxwell, are available for you all to read. I hope that you get a chance to read their thoughts and you consider those when you talk about passing this item. I want to ensure that we all know here that I am not against permanent supportive housing. In fact, knowing that this item is going to likely pass today, I want to make sure that we use this location as a shining light and a great example of what we can do for our unhoused communities. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm supportive of this motion to approve this item. I'm happy we're moving forward with the motel strategy. Very supportive when we moved for the first couple at the end and last year, 2 years ago and the beginning of last year. I hope we can pick up and accelerate the effort. I know that the COVID has slowed us down, but I think that from a cost basis, this is so much less expensive than what the cost is of meeting the challenge of homelessness with people that don't have homes. I do want to acknowledge the letter that we've gotten from Senator Schwartner raising the issue of lack of communication, as well as the same issue in a phone call I had with Commissioner Long, who also called, and we've also received a letter from Judge Goodell, and I've had the opportunity today to speak with him. I don't know how it is that we could do better providing some notice of disclosure to others, certainly other elected officials, in a way that still preserves the confidentiality of real estate negotiations. I saw this as something that our staff was taking a look at, and I encourage that. If there's a better way for us to do this, I would like for us to find it, because I think that the concern that was raised is a legitimate one. I also believe that the confidentiality interest with respect to real estate transactions is also a valid concern. So if there's a way for us to figure out a way that accomplishes both those purposes, I would like to find it. But I also want to acknowledge what I think has been a real constructive handling of this issue over the last week by our new colleague, Councilmember Kelly. I've watched you speak to your constituents. I've seen you address what you were calling significant misunderstanding that happened among many people with respect to what it was that we were facing. I appreciated the opportunity to be with you last night as one of the observers and watchers on the Zoom call that you had. Appreciated the opportunity to speak to our constituents in the city of Austin, up in Williamson County and in other places. I think that you've handled it in a really constructive way, and there will be disagreements as to positions that we take, and I just want you to know that I appreciate that. I support this, and I think it's really important, as the Mayor Pro Tem indicated, to recognize that this is an apartment complex. This is a hotel that's being converted into an apartment complex. In that respect, it is no different than the apartment complex that's now marketing itself. What is it? The Hedge Apartments in Austin, Texas. Right now being marketed as an apartment complex, but it used to be the Austin Suites Hotel that was purchased and is being now made into an apartment complex. Our strategy for helping to house people experiencing homelessness has at its core trying to find places for people to live on a permanent basis in hotels or in apartment complexes. Oftentimes we do that with vouchers. That's how we were able to get to effective zero homelessness with veterans, using the vouchers that came from the federal government to be able to place people in apartment complexes, just like this. In all parts of our city. And that's what this is. It's just that it's a lot less expensive and a lot more efficient to be able to do it in hotels this way. And quite frankly, the vouchers are rare, and there are not enough of them to go around. But this is very different from a shelter. I say that hesitantly because we're also going to have to find places to put shelters in the city. But as regards this particular one, it's an apartment complex, and we put apartment complexes in different places. This is an appropriate place for an apartment complex, and allowing people who in the past have experienced homelessness to be able to be there is consistent with what this city does all over the city in apartment complexes. And I do want to call out and congratulate Jason Fleischman He was highlighted in a KXAN article here recently. This is someone in our city that was experiencing homelessness, ended up in one of our protective lodges associated with COVID, but was helped off the streets, put into a place where he was able to have more stabilize his life, get access to services. And he now is employed and just signed a lease for his own apartment last Tuesday. These are the kind of experiences that we see. When we use those vouchers and we place people in apartments all over our city, they receive wraparound services, many times administered by a lot of the service organizations that exist in the city. One of them is Caritas. Caritas has a 90% success rate with people that they work with in apartment complexes or in hotels, helping to ensure that I think the statistic is 2 years later they're still sustained and not back on the streets. This particular property will be managed by Caritas, and they're going to help those folks' lives. And I agree with Councilmember Kelly. We need to make sure that it's done in a way that is also positive to the community, as you would want from any new multifamily project. I'm going to support this because it's important to our city. Councilmember Kitchen, and then Councilmember Kelly.
I just wanted to say that I too am supporting this. Thank you for the prior comments, and thank you, Mayor Adler, for pointing out what you have with regards to this location. And the Mayor Pro Tem also. This will be operated as an apartment complex by a trusted leaders in our community with Caritas. And it is the amenities and services for residents. I think the Mayor Pro Tem gave a pretty good and thorough description of that. So I would just add my voice to the mayors in asking that our staff, as we move forward with these purchases, motels and hotels, I would just ask our strategy officer and our staff to think through ways in which we can actually have community conversations, in the context of the types of confidentiality that we have to have with purchases. I think it really helps to talk with community members. The other thing I would add to that request is, how is it that we can offer assurance to people that we will in fact use this location, this and other locations for the purposes stated? In other words, we will be using this for an apartment complex. What assurance can we provide neighboring properties that is indeed what it will be used for into the future? So I think it's really important, and it's a legitimate question on local businesses' parts to ask, what can they point to provide assurance that this is what the use will be into the future. So I think we should think about that also. I also want to just add that I supported the delay for 1 week because I respect the request of Councilmember Kelly in providing her an opportunity to talk with her constituents, and I appreciate her efforts in that area. So thank you.
Councilmember Ellis.
Thank you, Mayor. I will also be supporting this item. There was someone who spoke earlier today to us that said this wasn't enough units to really make a dent. And even though he may have meant it a different way, I also agree with that. There's many dents that need to be made in the need for more housing, and purchasing the hotels is one step at a time. I think that it will make a difference. I think that every single roof that can be provided to a person, whether it is the city providing that, whether it's a nonprofit partner providing that, helps get each individual off the street in a place that is much more safe from the elements and provides a true path to long-term housing. So I look forward to supporting this, and I think the time to act is now.
Councilmember Kassar.
Thank you, Mayor. I just appreciate that we are voting for this today. Buying hotels and turning them into housing is how we get hundreds of people out of tents and into housing. And while I certainly support building permanent supportive housing, this strategy of converting hotels can get us the speed that the community expects. And no matter how much folks talk about the fact that this costs us some money up front, we've seen study after study that getting people into permanent supportive housing saves us tens of thousands of dollars per person if we're pulling people off the streets. The hotels, as you've mentioned, will not only be homes, but will provide key services. And that's only possible because of the critical work we've done around the budget and in passing bonds. I also heard some folks today say, why can't we make this more like Community First? And I love Community First, but we'll all remember that when Community First was being proposed, many people opposed multiple plans that Alan Graham and Noble Loaves put forward. And then it turned out that Community First was and is a great asset for our city. And I think that's what's possible in Austin when we work together. And we all have to work together across districts. We've purchased hotels in 3 districts. This would be the 4th, with one included in my district. So I think that work citywide is what is going to be able to get this done and be able to have us pull hundreds of people off of the streets and into housing quickly.
Anyone else before we take a vote? Let's take a vote. Those in favor of this item 61, please raise your hand. Those opposed? Councilmember Kelly voting no, the others voting aye, passes 10-1.